Rashaud Dukie Fields was known to everyone who met him as a light, a young man whose laughter and energy filled every space he entered. Friends and family describe him as someone who could never sit still for long, always finding ways to bring humor into every moment. Whether he was cracking jokes, teasing his loved ones, or offering a helping hand, Rashaud had an unmistakable ability to make people smile. His presence was magnetic, and even those who met him briefly remembered how genuine and uplifting he was. He wasn't the type to fade into the background. Wherever he went, people noticed, not because he demanded attention, but because he gave it. He made others feel seen, valued, and appreciated. His friends would often say that being around Rashaud was like a burst of sunlight on an ordinary day. He thrived on connection, always striving to lift others' spirits even when his own life became challenging. That warmth, that humor, and that relentless positivity became defining traits of who he was. Rashaud's personality was rooted in his family. He grew up in a home surrounded by love, support, and laughter. He shared an especially close bond with his older brother, who was 16 years older than him. Despite the large age gap, their relationship was filled with shared memories and mutual respect. Rashaud looked up to his brother not only as a role model but also as a friend. One of the fondest memories shared by his family is of a young Rashaud running through the hallway wearing his brother's football jersey after games. It was more than just play, it was admiration, a reflection of how deeply he valued family traditions and how early his love for sports began. That same family-centered spirit extended beyond his immediate household. Between his mother's and father's sides, Rashaud was surrounded by a large and diverse family: aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, and nephews, each playing a role in his upbringing. Despite the variety of ages, he had a remarkable ability to connect with everyone. His niece and nephew, though younger, were particularly close to him. He took pride in being the fun, caring uncle who could turn any moment into laughter. Whether it was playful teasing or games that ended in giggles, he made sure every child around him felt loved and included. It wasn't just his relatives who felt that warmth. In his neighborhood, Rashaud had become a symbol of positivity and joy. The kids nearby loved seeing him, always running up to greet him whenever he appeared. He took time to interact with them, to make them laugh, to make them feel noticed. Even today, those same children, now older, make sure to remind his family that he is deeply missed. Their memories of him are living proof that his kindness and spirit extended far beyond his home. Before tragedy struck, Rashaud Fields was not just another young man with dreams. He was a force of light and laughter within his community. His story begins not with loss but with love, connection, and the powerful way one person's energy could make the world around him a little brighter. From an early age, Rashaud Fields' life revolved around energy, competition, and an undeniable love for sports. It started when he was only 2 years old, a toddler already fascinated by the world of football. His family, passionate University of Florida Gators fans, passed their enthusiasm down to him. His bedroom walls were painted bright orange and blue, a tribute to the team he grew up cheering for. Every inch of his room reflected that passion. Posters, pennants, and memorabilia filled the space, serving as both decoration and inspiration. For Rashaud, football wasn't just a pastime. It was a dream that guided his every step. As he grew older, that dream only deepened. He participated in several sports, including wrestling and basketball, but football was always at the center of his heart. It was the sport that made him feel alive, the one that demanded teamwork, discipline, and heart, all qualities he carried naturally. Coaches and teammates described him as someone who didn't just play to win, but played with purpose. He wasn't satisfied with mediocrity. He pushed himself to become better with every game and every practice. His work ethic was unmistakable. Rashaud believed in earning his success through commitment, and that belief paid off. As he continued to refine his skills, colleges began to take notice. It wasn't long before he was recognized by several institutions that saw his potential both on and off the field. Among those schools were Georgia, Florida, Miami, and Kaiser University, each offering him a chance to take his athletic journey to the next level. For Rashaud, these offers weren't just about recognition. They represented the realization of a lifelong dream. But what truly stood out about Rashaud's decision-making was his humility. While many might have been swayed by prestige or big names, he focused on what mattered most: playing the game he loved and continuing to grow. Kaiser University ultimately became his choice. It wasn't just the offer of a full scholarship that convinced him, but the assurance that he would immediately be a first-string player. That promise meant everything to him. It wasn't about titles or attention. It was about being part of a team that valued his dedication and was ready to give him a real opportunity. For his family, his acceptance into Kaiser University marked a proud milestone. It symbolized how his determination and love for football were paying off. His parents, relatives, and community all celebrated his achievement, knowing that he had worked tirelessly to get there. To them, he wasn't just another athlete bound for college. He was living proof of what hard work, faith, and passion could accomplish. Off the field, Rashaud's competitive nature carried into other areas of life. He was known for his love of video games, and much like in sports, he played to win. Family game nights were often filled with laughter, jokes, and friendly rivalries, but Rashaud always wanted victory. If he didn't win, he'd keep playing until he did. That determination, even in simple moments, showed how deeply success mattered to him, not for pride, but for personal growth. His athleticism and playful spirit were balanced by his deep involvement in his church. Rashaud volunteered as an usher and often stepped in wherever help was needed. Whether on the football field, at home, or in the church, his enthusiasm remained constant. Every commitment he made, he honored with his full heart. This was the foundation of who Rashaud Dukie Fields was, not just a gifted athlete, but a young man who believed in effort, teamwork, and faith. His passion for football wasn't only about chasing dreams. It was about honoring the people who had always believed in him. May 23, 2022, was supposed to be one of the happiest days of Rashaud Fields' life. After years of hard work and dedication, he had finally reached the milestone every student dreams of: graduation day. The ceremony at Raines High School in Jacksonville, Florida, was a celebration of achievement, hope, and new beginnings. Family and friends gathered to watch him cross the stage, proud of the young man he had become and excited for what lay ahead. For Rashaud, it marked the start of a new chapter, one filled with ambition, promise, and purpose. That day, the air was filled with joy. His classmates wore wide smiles, tossing caps into the air as cameras flashed and cheers echoed. Rashaud's family watched with pride as he accepted his diploma, knowing the sacrifices and effort it had taken to reach this point. In a few short months, he would begin his journey at Kaiser University, ready to fulfill his dream of playing college football. For those who knew him, it was easy to imagine the bright future ahead, a young man with heart, humor, and discipline, preparing to take on the world. But just hours after his graduation ceremony, the celebration turned to tragedy. Rashaud was on his way to a graduation party when the unthinkable happened. In the 10700 block of Pine Estates Road in Jacksonville, he was shot and killed. The sudden violence shattered the joy of the day and left his family, friends, and community in disbelief. A day that should have marked the beginning of his adult life instead became one of unimaginable loss. The news spread quickly. Messages, calls, and social media posts began circulating as people tried to process what had happened. How could someone so full of life, so close to his dreams, be gone in an instant? For his family, the grief was overwhelming. Just hours earlier, they had watched him smile, laugh, and pose for pictures in his cap and gown. Now they were left with questions, heartbreak, and a silence that no words could fill. Rashaud's death left an entire community mourning. His teammates, classmates, and coaches gathered to remember him, struggling to make sense of a loss that felt senseless. At Raines High School, students who had celebrated graduation that morning were now lighting candles and placing flowers in his memory. Teachers described him as respectful, hardworking, and full of life. A student who inspired those around him to stay positive, no matter the challenges. For his family, every memory of that day became bittersweet. The images of his graduation, his wide grin, the hugs from relatives, the hope in his eyes, were reminders of the joy he had brought them and the pain of knowing it was his final day. His parents and brother were left holding on to the moments that now carried deeper meaning: his laughter, his energy, his kindness. In the weeks that followed, grief turned into remembrance. Friends shared stories about Rashaud's humor and determination. The neighborhood children who used to run up to him spoke about how much they missed him. On social media, tributes poured in from classmates and community members who wanted to honor his life and legacy. The tragedy of May 23rd was not only the loss of a promising athlete, but the loss of a young man whose heart and character had already touched so many. For those who knew him, Rashaud's absence was more than a void. It was a reminder of how fragile life can be, and how one moment can change everything. In the aftermath of Rashaud Fields' death, the sense of loss that spread through Jacksonville was profound. The tragedy was not confined to his family. It rippled across the community, touching everyone who had known him. For classmates, teachers, and neighbors, the grief felt deeply personal. Rashaud was not just another young man from Rains High School. He was someone who had made an impression wherever he went. The energy and optimism he carried had become a part of the neighborhood spirit, and now that light had been extinguished far too soon. At Rains High School, where just days earlier the halls had echoed with laughter and celebration, the mood shifted to quiet mourning. Students and faculty came together to remember Rashaud in vigils and memorial gatherings. His classmates shared stories about how he had made them laugh during tough times, or encouraged them when they felt uncertain about their futures. Teachers remembered him for his discipline, warmth, and contagious smile. The school community stood together in heartbreak, united by the memory of a student who had inspired everyone through his character and determination. Local residents also felt the impact. In his neighborhood, the young children who had always looked up to him now carried memories of his kindness. Parents spoke about how Rashaud had been a positive influence, always respectful and encouraging toward others. The grief extended beyond words. It was felt in the silences, in the empty spaces where his laughter once echoed, and in the realization that his presence had left an irreplaceable mark on so many lives. The broader Jacksonville community rallied around the Fields family, offering prayers, condolences, and support. Churches organized memorial services to celebrate Rashaud's life, emphasizing not only his athletic accomplishments, but also his deep faith and dedication to helping others. His involvement in the church, whether ushering or volunteering wherever needed, was remembered as a reflection of his giving spirit. Congregation members spoke about how his commitment to service, even at a young age, had inspired others to do more for their community. As tributes continued to pour in, social media became another space for remembrance. Friends and teammates shared photographs, stories, and messages of love, ensuring that Rashaud's memory lived on. Posts described his humor, his competitive drive, and the joy he brought to every gathering. His teammates spoke of how his energy lifted the team and how much they would miss his voice on the field. For many, these memories offered comfort, even as the pain of loss remained sharp. In moments of collective grief, the community found strength in unity. Vigils turned into celebrations of life, with candles lighting the night in honor of Rashaud Dukie Fields. The same people who had once cheered for him under the bright lights of the football field now gathered in quiet reflection, remembering the young man who had given them hope, laughter, and inspiration. Though his life had been short, his influence continued to stretch far beyond the years he was given. As the shock of Rashaud Dukie Fields' passing began to settle, what emerged from the grief was something deeper, a shared determination to keep his name alive. The community that had once celebrated his accomplishments now found ways to honor the young man whose spirit had touched them all. Rains High School, the place where Rashaud's journey had truly taken shape, became the heart of that remembrance. Only weeks after his death, the school's football field was transformed into a powerful symbol of his enduring impact. Across both end zones, the number 53, Rashaud's jersey number, was painted in bold white lettering. It wasn't just a decoration, it was a message. Every time the Rains Vikings stepped onto that field, they were reminded of the teammate, friend, and brother they had lost. Coaches described the ceremony as one of the most emotional moments in the school's history. Players stood silently with helmets pressed against their chests, tears streaming down their faces as they looked toward the number that had come to represent so much more than football. For the students, it was a symbol of what Rashaud stood for: dedication, brotherhood, and heart. His name echoed in every huddle and every game. Teammates often spoke about how they could still feel his presence during practices, as though his laughter and determination still lived in the air around them. That painted number 53 became a part of Rains High School tradition. Not just a memorial, but a reminder to every young athlete that greatness isn't measured solely in victories, but in character, love, and legacy. The tributes didn't end there. Kaiser University, where Rashaud had been preparing to continue both his education and athletic career, issued a formal statement following the news of his death. The message was heartfelt and sincere. The university described Rashaud as a bright young man full of promise, whose passion for life and learning inspired those around him. They expressed deep sorrow for his loss and extended their condolences to his family, friends, and the entire Jacksonville community. The school also offered grief counseling and support to students and athletes who had been affected by the tragedy. Recognizing that Rashaud's story resonated with so many, for his family, these gestures were overwhelming. The Fields family often spoke about how much it meant to see institutions, from Rains High to Kaiser University, carry his memory forward with such respect. To them, every tribute was a reminder that Rashaud's time, though short, had mattered. His influence had stretched far beyond their home, beyond the city limits, and into the hearts of people who had never even met him. In the months that followed, local news outlets continued to highlight his story, not as a tragedy alone, but as a testament to perseverance and love. Community members organized youth events and football camps in his honor, using his name to inspire others to chase their dreams the same way he had. For those young athletes, Dukie became more than a nickname. It became a symbol of hope. Even today, years later, that hope endures. The number 53 remains painted on the Rains field, and his story is told to each new generation of players. His family keeps his memory alive through gatherings, photos, and stories, ensuring that Rashaud's laughter and kindness are never forgotten. Rashaud Dukie Fields' legacy is not defined by how his life ended, but by how he lived, and with heart, humility, and an unshakable belief in the power of love and community. His light continues to shine through the people who carry his story forward, proving that even in loss, there is strength. Time has passed since Rashaud Dukie Fields was taken from those who loved him, but his memory remains as vivid as ever. For his family, friends, and community, the passage of years has not faded his laughter or dimmed the warmth of his presence. They continue to speak of him often, not as a distant memory, but as a living part of their everyday lives. His name surfaces naturally in conversations at family dinners and during community gatherings, always carrying the same mixture of joy and tenderness. To those who knew him best, Rashaud's spirit never truly left. At home, his photographs still hang proudly on the walls. His mother often pauses to look at them, recalling the sparkle in his eyes and the unmistakable grin that could light up a room. His siblings, too, keep his memory close, speaking about him as though he is still sitting beside them, teasing and laughing like old times. On his birthday and on the anniversary of his passing, the family gathers to celebrate his life. They share stories, cook his favorite meals, and release balloons into the sky, a symbolic gesture of love that transcends distance. These gatherings are not somber. Instead, they are filled with warmth, reflecting the way Rashaud lived. The Fields family has made a conscious choice to honor his memory through love rather than sorrow. They understand that grief, while ever present, can coexist with gratitude. The strength they display is a direct reflection of the values Rashaud carried: compassion, joy, and togetherness. His mother often says that her son's energy continues to guide her, reminding her to keep moving forward with faith and hope. Beyond his immediate family, the neighborhood that once echoed with Rashaud's laughter continues to hold space for him. Neighbors still stop by to check in, offering kind words or sharing memories of the young man who once brought so much life to their streets. Even the children who were too young to fully remember him have heard his name spoken with admiration. To them, Dukie is a legend, the boy who made everyone smile, who treated people with kindness, and who embodied the best of what it means to be part of a community. His extended family, too, continues to find unity in his memory. Cousins, aunts, and uncles frequently mention how his compassion connected them all. His presence, though physical no longer, has become an emotional thread that binds them together. When challenges arise, they think of how Rashaud would have faced them, with optimism, humor, and heart. That thought alone gives them strength. In time, the family's grief has transformed into something enduring and peaceful, a quiet love that never fades. They have learned that while loss changes life forever, love remains unbroken. Through every story told, every smile remembered, and every tradition continued, Rashaud lives on. His legacy is no longer defined by tragedy but by resilience and the unwavering bond of family. Rashaud Dukie Fields may have left this world far too soon, but in the hearts of those who loved him, he remains ever present, a reminder that true love never ends, it only changes form.